Hello, everybody, and welcome here to another special edition of Wine with Jimmy, as I am going to be interviewing the very important Angelos Iatridis. Hello, Angelos. How are you?
Hello to you, hello to your audience. Enjoy my background from Greece, Amyndeon.
Yeah, and we were just talking beforehand off air, Angelos, where I am currently under a storm in the United Kingdom, and you have beautiful blue skies. Some of us have made better choices in life, and I think you certainly have made the better choice. It is an absolute delight to have you here. We're going to be talking about Angelos, the creation of Alpha Estate up in North Greece. For those of you joining, we have some pictures that we're going to put up of where we're looking at in Greece, in Macedonia, in the north. We're going to be talking about the specific region of Amynteo, and we're going to go into the great varieties that are indigenous to this landscape, with some nice pictures as well of some of the mountains and lakes that really are a beautiful backdrop to the region. Let me just talk a little bit here and introduce Angelos. So Angelos founded Alpha Estate with Makis Mavridis, and this was in 1997. This is a high altitude plateau, very well known within the Greek scene, but also across the world. It's a benchmark winery with cutting edge viticulture and winemaking practices. And you'll know from the backdrop, it is an area which is surrounded by topography, lakes, and wonderful mountains in the north of Greece. So we're going to be talking about single vineyard expressions, old vines, sustainability, meticulous attention to detail in the bottle. And that's why this estate and Angelos's wines have won multiple awards across the world for really sort of benchmark high quality. So it's a delight to have you, Angelos, on board. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me here at Wine with Jimmy about your product and about your winery. Could you give a little bit more of a detailed introduction to yourself and Alpha Estate?
So we're starting our vision, our dream with Makis Mavridis in 1995, and starting with creating our vineyard. So in 1997, starting the legal entity of Alpha Estate. Makis Mavridis is a vine grower. It's a third generation vine grower. And me personally, I was a study chemistry in the University of Thessaloniki, and then extend my studies to the University of Bordeaux, doing enology. I work in different appellations in France, in Medoc, in Burgundy, in Alsace, Champagne, and Vallée du Rhône. And then I came back to Greece and starting our join with Makis Mavridis to make a really high-end winery in Amyndeon, because Amyndeon, it's the great advantage we have. It's a true cool climate, Greek origin, long ripening, natural freshness and precision, built in the vinegar, refined in the cellar. So this is our choice, and this is why Amyndeon has a specific characteristic for growing high quality wine and very elegant at the same time. Amyndeon is the name of the appellation, and Amyndeon took his name from Amyntas III. It's grandfather of Alexander the Great. So this is a bit of our history of Alpha Estate and where exactly we are located.
And I always found it interesting when I was studying for my diploma, and this is, 15, 20 years ago. I could remember Amyndeon because of I think it was the 4 V's. There was Vermio, Vitsi, Voras, and then the lake Verotidida. I think that's right.
Vegoritida. It's the 4 V's, like we say, is the mountain Vermium from south east, mountain Vitsi from the west, mountain Voras from the north, and lake Vegoritida from the northeast. So this is the topography of Alpha Estate, surrounded by three mountains in a high altitude plateau, which is, let's say, it's a protected ecosystem, if you like, in order to grow with a high security, high quality grapes. And our dominant grape variety, our indigenous grape variety, is Xinomavro.
Okay, so we have a beautiful topography. We've got mountains that are giving us higher altitude. You're on this plateau, which is higher altitude. You have a moderating effect from the lakes. This all adds to your specific terroir. Could you talk to us a little bit about the geology? And then could you lead on to also the comparisons that are inevitable with Nausa, because of course this is two key areas of Macedonia that make Xinomavro. And what are the differences between your region and say Nausa?
You know, first starting with the let's say the soil profile of Amyndeon, which is mainly sandy soil, but the secret is underneath. It's the limestone. So there is a quite deep layer of limestone that used to be the all the minerals used to located there by a very old lake. They existed in the 2-3 years old, 1,000 years old back. So the whole plateau used to be covered by a giant lake, and now we have all the micro elements of this lake underneath to the limestone layer. So this is the minerality that takes all of our wines, coming mainly from this secret of topography, you know, if you like. So comparing to Nausa, it's at our southern eastern side, meaning that in a lower altitude. So comparing the soil with us and Nausa, Nausa it's much more heavier soil, meaning it's more closer to lime and argile. So it's a bit the same varietal Xinomavro that grows in Nausa have, if you like, much more concentration there, and here it's much more finesse. So this is in Greece, in northern Greece.
Okay, great. So we're talking about the location. We've talked about the differences with Nausa. What about the geology, right? We talked about the geology. What about the steps that you have taken in terms of viticulture to stand out from the crowd? Because I've heard that you are quite a pioneering estate in terms of viticulture.
You know, in order to, you know, always Amyndeon used to be a place with cool climate, meaning that this environment that favors slow, even ripening, that gives us purity, tension, and wines with energy and aging potential. In the winery, the goal is to make a style, but not to reveal a place cleanly, consistently. This is why we have a high acidity, like Xinomavro offers a high tartaric acid concentration that gives wine that can aging very well and have a high aging potential. This is our major characteristic of our wines.
Okay, and Angelos, when you mention high acidity, in terms of your tartaric acid, are you talking 6, 7, or are you talking pHs of around 3.2, 3.3? What are the numbers?
3.15, yes, the pH, and our acidity in the tartaric acid is close to 7 always. So this is very important in order to have a, let's say, a natural protection during the aging of our wine. So tartaric acid for us is crucial. It's mainly based the production of tartaric acid in a limestone layer that gives all the acidity that combined with the high altitude that offers to the grapes that are producing in Amyndeon appellation.
And with that, obviously, with that pH being low, with the TA being high, you've got that aging ability, as you mentioned, but you've also got that natural freshness, that that brightness, that elegance. Do you think that your region is going to be even more focused on in the future with climate change, as we see other regions? It may be, you know, Crete, or it might be the Peloponnese Peninsula, that are getting much warmer, and potentially certain wine styles are becoming untenable. Is the future bright for your region up in the north, being high altitude, limestone soils?
This is the first thing we say. You said that Alpha. We try as a winemakers, as a wine growers, in order to make much more pronounced the fact that we are in a cool climate. So what we did, what offers the plateau of Amyndeon is the stability of having no extreme weather condition during ripening season, and this is why we try, even in the pruning, we try to have a high leaf area in order to increase photosynthesis in such a cool climate, in order to have all these let's say quality materials coming from the photosynthesis to the vine. So I believe that this protection that offers the altitude plus the existence of the mountains that surrounding the area, meaning that Amyndeon is you know, the future of Amyndeon is brilliant. So and this is the reason why many wine growers from all over is coming to Amyndeon to starting some initiatives here. So I believe that Amyndeon is the future, and the climate plus the how they see the quality of the wines that can be produced in this area. It's important to say that Amyndeon has all the future. And another, I forgot to tell you that, of course, in a low fertility soil like the sandy soil is in Amyndeon, it's important to secure the humidity, the soil humidity. And this is why we are the first in Europe that we have installed a subsoil irrigation system, which is starting in the late 90s with an Israeli company that have installed a piping system of, now it's more than 2,000 kilometers underneath. And in order to have a high precision irrigation, in order to equalize the loss of rainfalls, we have less than 400 millimeters of rainfalls per year, meaning that it's critical, mainly the ripening season, to have to control, to monitoring the right level of humidity in the soil. So this is what we try to offer to our vines in order to sustain these high quality results.
So that's fascinating. If I could just ask you a question on that, because I was with Tony Sarrion in eastern Spain at the end of last year. That's at with the name of the estate escapes me now, but on the Valencia Castilla-La Mancha border, and it was talking about this irrigation system. So this is subsoil. So this is irrigation system that is below the ground. It's in the ground.
It's
There is
30 centimeters. It's 30 centimeters underneath, 30 centimeters to close to the row. So right next to the routinary system, which is very important in order to avoid any losses of water, any damages from the belts, any damages from the machineries. So it's very important to protect and to preserve the water status of our water reserves.
yeah, yeah, and also I heard that if you have above ground drip irrigation, which is very common across the world, the roots are normally they stay very high, but if you have that 30
Exactly.
centimeters of the ground, the roots are actually going down in really their natural way that they should do. So it's helping
The roots following the gravity of the water. So they follow. So we have a much better exploitation of the soil, which is very important for the vine.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, wonderful. Is there anything else that you're doing in the vineyards? Are you doing any kind of planting of vineyards around key line technology, anything like that, or is it just the irrigation and that work sort of protecting the canopy?
A part of irrigation we have in order because it's a very low fertility soil. In order to have a equilibrium in nutrition, we have trefoils in the vineyard in order to have a smoother alimentation of nitrogen, which is very important to the growth and of the vine. So we try to work in the limits of the nutrition needs of the vine.
Okay, fantastic. So it's a lot of thought and expertise which is going in to farm your vineyard to a sustainable way, protecting water, making sure the vine, of course, is tended to. And you make very high quality wines with both indigenous and international grape varieties. One of your most coveted vineyards is the fact that you have old vines. Could you talk to us about, and I'll put the picture up here for those of you at home. This is a picture of the, it's now 100.
Yes,
This picture's a bit of vine.
yes.
Yeah.
This plantation of vines is going back to 1919. So it's now it's 106-7 years old vines. It's pre-phylloxera plantation, meaning that because of the sandy soil, we don't have a risk of phylloxera. This is the roots of Xinomavro. There is no American rootstock here. And it's the old way of growing Xinomavro in our region. It's on gobelets, bush vine. So we have the let's say the purity of Xinomavro expression of Amyndeon. This is what we have here. Of course, during all this year we have some losses, but the vineyard stays in a very, very high level in terms of the quality of its production.
Fantastic. And so they're your old vines. You have kindly sent me 3 wines that I've got. I have Malagoisia, I have an Asortico, and have the Xinomavro Reserve to taste through. I'll be very interested to talk about your winemaking techniques now whilst tasting these wines, because you mentioned in your history that you had a very big learning curve in France, right? You're in Bordeaux, you're in Champagne, you're in Burgundy, you're in the Rhone, you're in Alsace. Have you translated that influence from France into your winemaking? Do you use French methodologies, French oak, for example? Has that happened in your establishment of Alpha Estate?
What you get through this journey is the fact that you gain in experience. So the winemaking is make you, believe me or not, it's better man. This is what you get through all this journey. And I believe it's not the fact that you took the French education concerning the winemaking, but as I said, we make our wines in the vineyards, and we don't say that we do that. It's there is no specific ways of winemaking. Of course, uh, concerning, for example, in Xinomavro, you have to know the small differences they have. The way you work with the seeds, with the pips of Xinomavro, which is very important in order to get the structure of Xinomavro and the elegance of Xinomavro at the same time. So from Malagousia, we have here the much more citrus expression of Malagousia because of the altitude. Concerning the Assyrtiko, we have the minerality of Assyrtiko, but we have, let's say, a way that the Assyrtiko mature in much more extended ripening season. Imagine that from Santorini, the gross Assyrtiko have 2 months of difference concerning the harvest time. So we have Amyndeon has his own stamp on this winemaking. But the fact is, the background is Amyndeon in all of this wine.
Angelos, I love how you started that explanation by saying it's about experience, and it's not necessarily that we're emulating something else. You're not emulating Italy. We're not emulating Spain or France, which all make great wines, but you are creating your own path. And when I started as a winemaker, which was only 4 years ago, one of the things I quickly had to adapt was I had to lose my ego. I had to lose what I wanted to do, and I had to listen to the vineyards that I buy fruit from, and I had my visions, and those visions are important, but you need to adapt and you need to gain experience. And I'm actually making wine in quite a different way than I was in my first vintage, and I'm sure that's been the same for you. Have you adapted as you've gone through the last 20
like
years?
like you say, I feel it every day, but every day I can learn something. I have to study the new papers coming from the universities. I have to learn from the new staff there working in our state. Every day for me it's a new day, and what I mean is a new day. I like to extract the day of what happens in surroundings. So imagine yourself 20 years back. We don't taste the same way you taste the wine 20 years back.
Yeah.
This is the evolution. You can feel the wine in order to not just taste, but you can feel the wine. This is part of the experience. This is part
Mm.
of the passion, which is very important to make the consumer realize what you are, because the character of the winemaker is the character of each wine. So this is very important. We are the same after so many years. So, but the evolution is here. It's not the same. Every year is different. Every
Yes.
year is a challenge. Every year is something new that coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we really have to adapt. I think it was in it was in the famous book The Leopard, from Italy, which was, if we want things to stay the same, we're going to have to change, which is such a fantastic phrase. So Angelos, we have 3 wines to taste, and if you could please take me through those 3 wines. First of all, we'll start with the youngest wine, I think, the Malagousia, which is the 2024.
4, yes.
So this is from, I believe, a single block at high altitude, as we would expect. Something like 650 meters on south exposure. Talk to me a little bit about this grape variety for people maybe who haven't come across Malagousia before. What would you tell them about this grape variety?
This is a very popular grape variety in Greece right now. Starting in the central Greece, mainly Malagousia growing, but now more the Malagousia expression is climb up to northern Greece. So Malagousia has the expression of Malagousia face different types of wines, meaning that it's very important the climatic condition that grows Malagousia. For example, in the southern place, most warmer place, we have the most, let's say, terpenic expression of Malagousia, and going up here, we have more citrus. But this is an exception, the Malagousia we're tasting right now, because this Malagousia facing south, meaning that we have a terpenic background, but also what happens here, it's because the acidity, it's something that marks that Malagousia. We try to have the big wood tanks that make the fermentation and the aging of this Malagousia for 8 months in order to having the necessary oxygen to keep the Malagousia in this freshness for many long time. So this is Malagousia called Latipes, and Latipes is because it's the soil where it grows. This Malagousia, I had to say again, facing south. It's the small limestone rocks. So it's that differentiate because all the Amyndeon, mainly facing north, it's the inclination of Amyndeon appellation, and this is the opposite side. That means that it's a warmer block in our vineyard that shows this complexity, mainly the terpenic back palate of this Malagousia variety. Malagousia, it's a very elegant variety. It's let's say stylistically, it's very close to Pinot Grigio or to Verdejo, between them, for those who know about this varietal. So, but Malagousia have a very, it's a very elegant variety. It's an everyday wine, but have a nice depth when it grows, you know, and having this complexity like this Malagousia we're tasting right now.
So I really found that interesting, Angelos, that you mentioned that in the south of Greece, central sort of part of Greece, in warmer places, south-facing vineyards, often it increases the terpenes in the wine. But then if it was, say, east-facing or north-facing in the colder areas, it would be more citric. Is that what I'm hearing? So normally you have...
Yes, okay. Exactly. This is because it's a multi-dimensional grape variety, Malagousia. So you can see upon each appellation, you can face different expression of this varietal close to each other, but you know, you understand that it's a different climate condition can bring another Malagousia expression. So this is a varietal. This is why it's very popular in Greece. You can imagine that 3 years ago, when I participated in the Malagousia tasting, there are more than 200 labels of Malagousia in Greece. So you understand how much popular is that varietal.
And that's quite crazy to think about, because remind me of the pioneer behind it. Was it Gerovasilou who was...
Yes.
Was the pioneer in the 70s, the 80s behind this grape variety? So we had about 50...
you know, Gerovasilou was the first that brought the Malagousia in northern Greece. So as I told you, coming from the Attica region and the central Greece, with Roxani Matzak, which is a very important winemaker as well. And Gerovasilou was the winemaker that comes from as well from Bordeaux as well, winemaker that make Malagousia in the scene again.
Okay. This wine is fantastic. I get it's super fresh. It has a lot of herbal characteristics to it, which I love. Like I find here, and you'll have to tell me what the landscape is like in terms of the bush around the land, because I find very much like fennel and sage and thyme and those kind of notes really come through strong here. A similar character you might find in a Southern Rhone wine, for example, or a Catalan wine, or maybe Eastern Spanish wine, when you've got a lot of garrigue and you've got a lot of those kind of herbal notes. But I love the lemon peel and the sort of pithy character to it.
You know, the whole secret of Malagousia is very well kept it in the inner part of the skins. So it's very important to, when you're talking about Malagousia, it's very important to work, you know, with the skin contact for a few hours in order to extract all this potential growing during this ripening season. So it's very important, and this is why Malagousia expression in, let's say, in a cool climate, but in a southern inclination, meaning that locally it's higher temperature, we can see this complexity of Malagousia coming out. That's why I believe that this is our Malagousia from the block, single block Latipes, is what is very unique in the complexity coming from this, from the topography and from the way that grows Malagousia. Always working with a high canopy is very important to Malagousia in order to have the shade in during the end of August, mid of August, end of August, have the shade from the west side of when the temperature are higher.
Okay, fantastic. So really great wine, and I love how also not only have you extracted the aromatic compound from some short skin contact, you've then gone on to go through fermentation and aging in barrel with some lees stirring. So you've also built in a little bit of texture into this wine as well. So it's aromatic, it's got some texture, it's got some brightness. It's a really great wine. Really, really lovely expression. So Angelos, wine number 2, whereas Malagousia is very important in Greece, and I suppose in the wine circles of the world, people will know Malagousia. Asurtico is very much internationally known because of the pioneering work which has been done by the island, the volcanic island of Santorini. Now, you mentioned that this wine, this Asurtico, has its own identity that is very much personality different to Santorini. People may have tried Santorini before. What is the difference with Amyndeon styles and your style with Asurtico, and why should we be really looking at this great variety from the north of Greece?
You know, in Santorini, you can see, let's say, the volcanic character of Asurtico, which is it's very obvious to get it. And here we have the minerality, you know, the minerality expression of Asurtico in Amyndeon. So we have two different, let's say, style of Asurtico. Always in continental Greece, it's much more minerality than the volcanic expression of Santorini. This Santorini soil is purely volcanic soil, so we have, let's say, some sulfuric expression in the same times, and the acidity it's much higher in Santorini, mainly because of the dry season. You know, Santorini, it's imagine that the temperature are higher, and there is a lack of water for at least the 5 last months of ripening. So imagine that this concentration mainly coming as well from the dry season of close to the harvest. So this is the major characteristic, the major difference between the Asurtico of continental Greece and the Asurtico of Santorini. And another fact is always Santorini have a bit higher alcoholic level. Always, you know, this always Santorini is close to 14.5 degree of alcohol. So the continental is always the balance in continental is between 13 and 30.5.
Yeah, I remember I've tried quite a lot of Asurticos, and I was trying some from Crete. I go to Crete quite frequently, and I love the diversity of wines coming out of that huge island. And there's just such a marked difference if you would compare it to, say, something like Santorini. And for me, I'm glad you said that. The biggest difference, I think, is that alcoholic shift. There's a little bit more elegance in the alcohol of continental Greece. So how describe to me how this wine is made, where it's from, first of all, the vineyard itself, because this is a single block again.
Yes. So it's a single block coming from the west side of our vineyard. So it's sandy clay soil here, what we get in our Assyrtiko, and we have indigenous fermentation coming. It's indigenous but selected yeast. We work here in the project with the University of Geisenheim in order to select an indigenous yeast from this specific block in order to make the fermentation under this clone. So we have, let's say, a nice expression and very well balanced expression of Assyrtiko minerality. It's the acidity is always high. We have close to 7.1 grams of tartaric acid, and it's very nice aftertaste. It's very long aftertaste, and it's mainly keeping this acidity, keeping all this all this structure of Assyrtiko very well mouth-feeling. So I believe it's very well balanced Assyrtiko, very representative of what continental Assyrtiko characteristics are.
Yeah, and I agree with you. This wine, whereas the Malaguisa has much more aromatic, the Assyrtiko has less aromatic, but it has a lovely sort of elegance and finesse. It doesn't try too hard. It has this beautiful gentleness to it, not too high alcohol. The acid keeps it very sort of bright in the palate, lovely minerality throughout, and really good fruit as well. So fantastic Assyrtiko, really, really lovely as well. And the final one that you sent to me is one of your real kind of, I mean, all of your wines are fantastic, but really one of your famous wines, done very well in the international market and wine competitions. And this is your Xinomavro Reserve Old Vines, which is the picture we see there of the vineyard as well.
Yes.
And this is the 2021. So we've talked about this vineyard, bush vines, 106, 107-year-old today, low yielding. We talked about all of that. Let's talk about how you process this Xinomavro. So could you start from hand picking onwards?
Everything in Alpha State is hand picking, so it's very important on this. But especially for the this single block of Barbagiannis is the name of the single block, Barbagiannis Assyrtiko. It's the fact that you have a specific team work on this single block. It's just it's a 5 persons that working specifically in this block. So they have their own connection with this vineyard. We have a certain connection with this vineyard because this wine is our cornerstone wine, as you can realize. This is the history of Amyndeon. This is the history of Xinomavro. Imagine that it's mainly it's the oldest Xinomavro in the world, we can say as a joke, but this is true. It's a grape variety. It's a block that gives us the really let's say expression of what Assyrtiko is. And what is specific to this winemaking is the fact that we have starting in rotating tanks in order to have a controlled extraction concerning the phenolic compounds from the seeds to the juice. It's very important to monitoring the extraction, the level of extraction of the seeds. You know, all this, the main structure of Xinomavro mainly comes from the seeds. So it's very important to know when you till how you have to go on this extraction. So
And Angelos, this is another similarity then. Often people draw similarities to Nebbiolo.
exactly, yes, yes.
And that's also a grape that gives a lot of seed structure. So that's a similarity between those two.
You know, one of the major decisions to have to make before harvest is to taste the seed.
Wow.
It's very important to know it's not just the color for turning from green to brown. It's the fact how you feel, how you taste the pips, the seeds of Xinomavro, in order to take the right decision for the day of the harvest. So this is rotated tanks. You make a very selected extraction from the seeds. Once you get the desirable level of extraction, you can take off the seeds by a pump over from the perforated grill at the bottom of the tank. So there is that kind of possibility. There is another secret, but it's not a secret, but it's a way of, it's very important for me for the Xinomavro. Starting as at the beginning, we start for carbonic maceration. So, and once you have the first destruction of the cells of inside the skins, we go to the normal let's say a fermentation by controlled temperatures, but we're starting with carbonic maceration at the beginning.
Okay, so you have whole berries,
Yes.
but not stems, just whole berries.
Whole berries, not stems.
Yeah.
Actually, whole berries lightly crushed, very lightly crushed.
So
Yes.
some of those berries will then go through a beginning stage of a carbonic maceration, and then
Exactly.
then you start doing your punches.
And then open the doors and start the alcoholic fermentation by controlling the temperatures and.
Now I know why you do that, but what can you tell everybody why you do that sort of carbonic to then traditional method?
Because you have to get the higher extraction of the phenolics mainly from the skins, and so this is the one fact that we have to let's say have the destruction of the cells in order to take all these phenolics, all this color mainly located there, and the other fact is to take all this complexity of Xinomavro's aromas, all these herbs that has Xinomavro, or all this spicy character of Xinomavro, to get this, let's say, hints of dry tomatoes. It's very important to get all this complexity of Xinomavro.
And I love the way you do that, because for me in this wine, there are two things that you've mentioned in the winemaking just then, but also earlier. You mentioned that the Xinomavro from here often is more elegant and brighter than you may find, say, from Nausa, from other areas. And I find that here that this is very much brightly fresh red fruit, you know, and lots of it. Whereas sometimes Xinomavro can get a little bit too sweet and dried fruits. Here it's got lovely freshness, and I think that's from your site and then from how careful you work it in the winery, as you just mentioned. Would that be correct? All the connections.
Okay, sorry. You know, yes, what I believe is the fact that this elegant style of Amyndeon, it's there is another description you can make from the Xinomavro of Amyndeon is the balance, and always working in the field and in the winery as well in winemaking is have the balance, is to get the best elements from the variety you have, and Xinomavro it's a very challenging grape variety. Imagine that when you came to Amyndeon, 30 years back, the Xinomavro came to ripening in mid to the end of October. This is a very risky time for having the harvest of grape variety because of the rainfall, because of the low temperature. And what you get through all these times with a higher canopy, with the night way of pruning, we get now we have at the end of September, beginning of November, a very nice balance of Xinomavro here in Amyndeon. That gives us, the advantage of having that Xinomavro that can stand for a long time of aging.
Mm. And that was going to be my next question. This has a lovely fine tannin to it, and it has really high acidity and lots of bright fruit. So of course this has a long life ahead of it. You've been making this wine for probably about 20, 30?
The first vintage of Xinomavro coming from these old vines was 2003.
Okay, so just over 20 years. How are some of those older vintages tasting today?
Sometimes I believe, and I have to tell you this again to remind you to your audience, is that the fact that the Xinomavro have higher concentration of tartaric acid. Tartaric acid is the secret. It's the natural secret coming mainly from the soil, but coming from the ecosystem. The French called terroir, from the ecosystem of Amyndeon. So I believe this is the acidity that keeps all this freshness, all this brightness, all this purity of Xinomavro into the bottle, into the wine. So this is what differentiate Xinomavro from other regions.
And I love that you're saying that, because I think there's often, and it depends on the grape variety and the location, but there's often an overemphasis that we must have tannin and alcohol for age. But really often people forget about the TA and the strength of that acid through its pH, which keeps the wine alive. Because tannin can sometimes, without acid, tannin can become bitter when the wine ages. The alcohol can seem unbalanced, but if you have the TA and you have strong pH, a low pH, you have this brightness which keeps the wine. It's almost like a fountain of youth. It keeps it going forever. And I love that you focus on that, because many people don't.
We may focus on that. This is our greatest weapon in the fact of building our vineyards, and of course make our wine. So it's the acidity for us, and specifically the tartaric acid, because tartaric acid is the most stable, the most sustained acid into the grape and into the wine. So this is not a secret. It's very well known, and this is why we believe that Amyndeon has this great difference with other appellations.
Thank you, Angelos. And then next, I just want to ask you that we've only tasted 3 of your wines: the Malagosia, the Asortico, and the Xinomavro. What other wines do you produce? I mentioned you have international varieties in your range as well.
Yes, we have international varieties concerning the white wines. We have Sauvignon Blanc and Chardonnay, 2 grape varietals that helps a lot in, especially in the let's say the islands consumption. During this touristic seasons, it's most of the accounts prefer this kind of varietals, but as well we have a great rosé wine from Xinomavro as well. Amyndeon is the only appellation in Greece that has rosé PDO Xinomavro. So it's another very important wine that we produce. And there is another wine called SMX, which is a blend of Syrah, Merlot, Xinomavro, which is one of important wine that we produce, because you have the aromatic complexity of Xinomavro on the back palate, with the structure of Syrah and the roundness of Merlot. But this is something very unique that this is the influence coming from our times in France when I studied in Bordeaux. So blending is always it's very important for me. It's even from the same variety you do have make blends, but making blend you create a new entity, and this is important. This is let's say an artificial it's artistic approach of making wines.
Fantastic. And I got a slightly off-piste question, but you had experience in Champagne. Your region has high TAs, low pHs. You have Chardonnay. So are you making or going to make any sparkling wines in Alpha Estate?
In the backside of my mind, there's we have some schedule on that, but it's not for tomorrow. This is it will happen sometimes. But I have to tell you that Alpha State will maybe you know or you don't know. We have a new entity in Santorini Island. So there is a Santorini Assyrtiko already vinified in on the island of Santorini from Alpha Estate this last harvest in September, and will be released on the market in the beginning of coming summer.
Fantastic! I very much look forward to trying that side by side against your
Assyrtiko. The true expression of Assyrtiko. Yes.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Well, Angelos, thank you so much for your time to take me through your history, take me through your philosophy, and also through the terroir, the topography, the geology, the expressions of wine, the winemaking. I think we covered nearly everything, I think, that Alpha Estate stands for, and your passion and commitment to the project. Is there anything else you would like to mention before we wrap up to anybody who is watching out there?
Yes, I have to tell you this. Amyndeon is a very beautiful area. So Alpha Estate is open on visits, and you really you can realize from closer and tasting our wines what is the secret of Amyndeon and the unity of Amyndeon concerning the wines that were produced. And of course, Xinomavro is our cornerstone. So I'd like to tell you and to your audience that please come and visit our Amyndeon.
And for everybody out there, we will be putting the stockists in the UK and the US in the description of the video, so you'll be able to go and purchase these fantastic wines. I'm also doing professional WSET tasting notes on these wines, which will be available as well. So if you wanted to study with these wines, certainly very important in the Xinomavro as well. That's been great. The last thing I want to mention is that we are doing at my bricks and mortar school in London, we are doing a tasting with these fantastic wines on the 4th of February. Yes, I believe. And there are a few places left. So please, if you are interested to try the wines we've talked about, which are fantastic, plus even more, you must come along to that event to really immerse yourself in these fantastic wines. Angelos, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you very much.